we would do it. But please make sure you have attempted this on your own first. By coding and actually practicing, you're going to learn the most. So just watching the videos is not really going to be enough. Do attempt it on your own first. Once you've attempted it on your own, then watch this video, compare your code to the one we write, and at the end, if you have any questions about your code or any feedback or things like that, ask them in the course Q&A and we'll be more than happy to help you out. Let's get started. Here we've got the incomplete app code. So I've created my project in PyCharm. My file is app.py and I've copy-pasted the code provided in the last lecture. Now I'm going to close this sidebar there so that we can focus solely on the code. And what we've got is the menu prompt, the movies list where we're going to store our movies, and these are going to be dictionaries like so. And then down here we've got our menu with pass statements instead of the actual code that we want to run. So let's start off by creating the different functions that we're going to need. So here we've got some hints. You may want to create a function for this code and create other functions for listing movies and finding movies. So we're going to start off by doing that. So we're going to do add movie like that, and we're going to put this code inside it. So there's our first function. Now we're going to create the other functions as well. And I'm going to use pass just temporarily before implementing these functions. So here we've got our two other functions that don't do anything at the moment. So I'm going to delete this comment. It's common in Python to leave 2 lines between function definitions just to give yourself a bit more room to read the code and make it a bit more readable. Now here we've got our user menu, and we're also going to make this into a function. Just like that. And here we've left a comment reminding you that you have to run the function as opposed to just create it. So after we've done all of this, we run the menu function, and that is what's going to start this loop here. Now, if the user enters A, we're going to run the add movie function. If they enter L, we're going to run the show movies, and if they enter F, we're going to run find movie. This is really what's going to happen in our application. This is the main application logic. Now we have to go ahead and implement these functions that allow us to show movies and find movies. When it comes to adding a movie, all that we're doing is asking the user for the data we need, or the application needs, and then appending that as a dictionary to our list. So every time we run the add movie function, we'll presumably end up with one more dictionary in our list. So how are we going to show these movies to the user? Well, here's an idea. We'll iterate or use a loop to go over the list. That will give us a dictionary for each element in the list. And then in that dictionary, we will get the details, title, director, and year for each movie. So let's do that. We'll do for, and here we're starting our for loop. Now we tell Python the variable that we want to use as we go through this loop. This variable gets created and used as each element in the list, and that is signaled by doing in movies. So for movie, in movies, we create this movie variable, and that equals the first element of the list. When we repeat the loop the second time, then movie is the second element of the list, and so on. And here what we're going to do is we're going to do print movie, and we're going to pass in this movie variable as an argument. Of course, this print movie is a function as well, and we know that because we've got the brackets after the name. Therefore, we have to create this. And the reason we're doing that in here is because we're going to use this function in 2 places. So it's a good practice to create functions in order to reduce code duplication, because we're going to use it here and also here later on. So we have to define this function. We'll do print movie, and this takes in an argument, so it has a parameter, which I'm going to call movie, but you can call whatever you want. This is a new variable that gets created when this function runs. And in here, it's going to have the value that this had at this point in time. So here, this is going to be a dictionary from our list. And what we're going to do is we're going to print the title is going to be movie title. And that is going to give us one line of text saying title, colon, space, and the movie title, or the title property of this dictionary. Something important to notice here when using f-strings and accessing dictionaries inside this interpolation statement is that you have to use different types of quotation marks. So here I'm using double quotation marks on the outside, single quotation marks on the inside. If you don't, then Python is going to think that you are terminating the string and is going to get very confused. So make sure to do that. Now that we've done this, we can do the same for the other details of the movie. There we go, we've got the director and the release year, and we're printing those properties out. Make sure to spell these properties correctly, otherwise you're going to get an error when you try to access a property of a dictionary if the property doesn't exist. Alright, so we've got the show movies there. Whenever the user types L, we're going to run that function, that's going to go through the movies, and it's going to call print movie for each one, passing it as an argument. So that dictionary is going to go from here to here, and then it's going to appear here as the movie parameter, and we're going to access each of the properties as we print them out. Now let's go on to find movie. Here we're going to go through the movies list and check whether the title of a movie is equal to something that the user is searching for. So first things first, we have to ask the user for what they're looking for. So we'll do search title is equal to, and then enter movie title you're looking for. Now that we've got that, we can go over the movies as we did earlier on, just exactly the same loop. And here we're going to include an if statement. This if statement is going to check whether the title of the movie is equal to what the user typed. And if it is, we're going to do print movie of that movie. Notice that here we're accessing the movie dictionary and we're accessing the title property of that. We're comparing it with what the user entered. If that evaluates to true, then we will execute this line here. And here we're also using the movie that we defined in the for loop, but now we're passing it to this function so that it can access it and print the details out. That's about it for the project. So that implements the functions that we're missing. And now we can delete this incomplete app comment from the top and we can run it and see what happens. So here we can add a new movie. It's going to be The Matrix, Wachowski, and I think it was 1999 that it was released. So that seems to work. We're going to press L to see the movies, and you can see that we print one of the movies out. We're going to type F. We're going to type The Matrix, and you can see that that finds the movie. But if we type F and we type the Matri without the X, then nothing gets printed out. Finally, we type Q, and that terminates the process. So this is all well and good, but there is a further improvement that we can make to this menu section. Here you can see that we have an if statement for each different option that the user can type. And that is okay when you've got 3 options or 4 options and so on, but if you have 10 options, then it can become a bit unwieldy. So we're going to make an improvement by using first-class functions. Remember, in Python, all functions are first-class functions, but now we're going to make use of that attribute of functions so that we can simplify this code. And what we're going to do is we're going to define a dictionary called user options. And this is going to be the different things that a user can do in our application, mapped to what they may type in the input. So if they type A, then we're going to associate A with add movie. If we associate L with show movies, making sure to delete the brackets that PyCharm adds automatically, and F with find movie. Now what we've got is essentially this if statement here as a dictionary. So what we'll do next is, instead of doing all that, we'll do if the selection is in the user options, and that just means if what the user typed is one of these keys, Then we will get the selected function variable and we will make it user options selection. That is going to use what the user typed and access the user options dictionary with that string so that we'll get, for example, the add movie function back. And then all we have to do is do selected function and run that. Remember, you can run a function by using the brackets. Finally, if the selection was not in the user options, that means that it is an unknown command. So we will use this else that we already had there to print unknown command, please try again. You can see how this makes use of first-class functions to simplify this code slightly by reducing the need for an if statement in a menu. Now, if we want to add more options to our menu, we just add them to this dictionary and it's pretty straightforward. But if we wanted to add more options earlier on, we had to go into our menu and add more branches to our if statement. So hopefully all of that makes sense and you have learned something in this video regarding how we would implement this milestone project. Remember, if you compare your code to ours and you're not sure about something in your own code and you want some feedback regarding the code that you've written, then please ask a question in the course Q&A, post the complete code, and we'll be more than happy to help you out. Thanks for joining me in this video, and I'll see you in the next one.